Okay, so this is a bonus video, and it's really, really important. I didn't think about covering it until I received a couple messages. And it's like, well, you know what? A lot of times we just talk about building out these campaigns and we don't get into the nitty gritty. And I try to do that intentionally because things change so often in Google. Like I can do a video on how to create a campaign, and then in 2 weeks they're going to change the layout of the interface, and it's going to be confusing. So I really try to stay away from that level of detail. But I think it's really important just to go through this. Just know that it might look differently on your screen. I'm recording this in January of 2023, so you know it's probably going to change again soon. But there are areas within the campaign setup that you need to really pay attention to, and if you don't, it could end up costing you a lot of money. Okay, so let's go through that. I'm going to minimize this a bit, and then we're going to jump into first what we were talking about. We were talking about isolation accounts, so let's start there. I'm going to go into conditions isolation. Let's bring that up, and then we will go into the settings. So when we build out these campaigns, it's usually within the Google Ads editor. It doesn't have to be. You can build out the campaigns within Google Ads itself. But you can see there's a lot of settings here, right? There's actually additional settings, and there's hidden settings, and sometimes, even though I can't prove it, probably intentionally hidden settings that you know Google does not want you to see, quite honestly. But let's just go section by section, right? So the campaign name, because this is an exact match campaign, we call it isolation. We're isolating these keywords, we're promoting them appropriately, we're controlling page position because we have thematically developed ad groups with the best targeting possible through exact match. So it's called isolation. So that's this part. And that's pretty simple. Account goal settings. This is, I don't want to get into this because it's too much for this video. It's fine to keep it at the account level. There's a whole bunch of reasons why you would want to go campaign specific, but again, I can't get into that now. If you're creating these campaigns from scratch, just use your account goal settings, and then we'll probably do another video at some point, you know, when to do campaign specific goal settings. Okay. Do you want to bid equally for new and existing customers? So you have the ability to just steer Google in a direction of just finding new customers, right? So that's an option. Generally, you know, speaking, we leave that unchecked. If we're ever in a situation where we're just focused on new customers, maybe we'll try that as a test. But I would say just leave that unchecked in the very beginning. Marketing objectives. I don't believe that this actually affects the campaign. I could be wrong. I've actually had this conversation with a few people recently, but I think it's just more of a classification thing at this point. If I'm wrong, please put something in the comments and let me know. Usually we don't select anything. We create our own campaigns, and we configure it around the goals that we have internally. But if you want sales, or if you want leads, I mean, you can just, you know, select it and go save. I really don't think it impacts the performance at all. Again, if I'm wrong, please, you know, say something in the comments so we can all learn. Here's a big one. Okay, so networks. Google is going to default to a bunch of different things. So the search network outside of the core Google search experience, it's going to default to distribute outside. I would say uncheck that. Just focus on Google for now. Don't muddy the waters. Just focus on Google. And this display network, without a doubt, uncheck that. If you're going to do display, do it separately in its own campaign. Okay, so don't bring display into your search campaigns. So we're going to save that way. Here's another Google gotcha. Okay, so the location targeting. We're going to bring this up. United States, location options, kind of hidden, right? So you wouldn't even know it's there. So United States, so it says presence or interest. People regularly in, or who've shown interest in your target locations, recommended. Or presence, people in or regularly in your targeted location. So if you say interest, there could be somebody on the other side of the world that's interested in the area that you're targeting, and all of a sudden you're showing ads in Bangladesh or wherever, right? So you just want to make sure that you've got this selected so that you're only showing ads in your geo-targeted area that you're interested in showing ads. All right, so we're going to save that. English, okay, so languages. This is kind of a tricky one sometimes because this is tied to the language setting in your browser, and it depends on what you're advertising. So if you're in the Southwest U.S., for example, a lot of times we'll do Spanish. You know, if we're in certain areas of Canada, we'll add French. The ads themselves are in English, so you know there's a lot of people that their native language is another country, so maybe their browser language settings is set to that particular language, but they're searching in English, right? So a lot of times we'll start off with English and then we'll add additional. If we don't have proper volume, we'll add other languages as well. So it really depends on that one. I would definitely just, you know, I can't say definitely, but probably start with English and then add additional languages. Budget. In the beginning, I set it really low because I just want to see what Google is bringing in terms of, you know, what the bids should be in terms of like the first page. You could add columns also and see, not always. Sometimes Google populates this, a lot of times they don't, but you can add columns to see what the bid should be for the top positions as well. But usually we set it pretty low just to get a sense for where our bid should be, and then again, we're setting the bids at the ad group level, not the keyword level. And then, so this informs us where we should start, right? So I would set it low in the beginning just to see what the data looks like. This is what we call an isolation campaign. So we're doing exact match. A lot of times we will uncheck enhanced. By checking enhanced, you give Google more leeway to be able to bid more aggressively based off of intense signals, okay? But sometimes I think they get a little greedy with that one. So I would say it depends. Again, this is another one. Maybe try it unchecked. If you're not getting enough volume and not enough activity, then check it and then test with enhanced enabled. Yeah, that's how I'd handle that one. Let me see here. Automatically create. Yeah, I'm just going to continue. Yeah, I would leave it on off for now on this one. And then, let me see everything. What? We have more, okay? Optimize best performing ads. There was a time where I would always say do not optimize, rotate indefinitely. In this case, moving forward, because Google's getting pretty smart about this stuff. They, you know, for the most part, they want you to succeed. When you succeed, they succeed, right? So I would leave this on optimize, prefer best performing ads, okay? And everything else is fine. We don't need to get into this other stuff, but that's what I would do on an isolation exact match campaign. Let me jump into another campaign setting for the exploration. It's pretty much the same except for one specific area, but it's important, okay? So we are going to go in there. As soon as this thing loads, okay, let's take a look. Conditions, exploration. Let's go in there and we will look at the settings. This one's going to be really, really quick because most of it's the same. In fact, when we build these, we just do a copy and paste from the isolation and we make adjustments with the ad groups. Again, remember, it's not a full build. We're just basically filling the exploration with the top performing keywords that have proven themselves in isolation. So you only end up with like just a few ad groups, but most of this stuff is exactly the same. The only difference is, so you can see just the Google search network, United States, just the area we're targeting. The difference is in the bidding, right? So in this particular case, because it's what we call an exploration campaign, we are setting it to maximize conversions, and then we also set a target cost per action here, okay? Or some people call it cost per acquisition. In this case, we just put an arbitrary number of 100. Once you're running your isolation campaigns, you're going to be able to see exactly what your average CPA is. Google will actually plug this or make a strong recommendation as soon as you check this as to what that should be. I would just follow that recommendation, and it's the target CPA that is going to act as the guardrail so that your broad match keywords in this particular campaign type don't go haywire on you and like spend a bunch of money, right? There was a time where running broad match was a disaster, and of course Google would always default to broad match, and you'd be looking at the performance and it would just be all over the place. Well, now we can control it by using, maximize conversions with target CPA, and be able to really stretch the goals and stretch the ability of this campaign type to really recognize high buying intent signals and bring in quality conversions. And you'll see that when you're looking at your search terms as well. With these particular campaign types, with the maximized conversions with target CPA, I would also highly recommend that you spend a lot of time looking at search terms. Okay, so search terms, and again, for clarification on terminology, keywords are what you're bidding on. Search terms are what people are typing into Google, right? And you're going to see most of them. Sometimes Google will hide that data because of privacy issues, but you should see most of them in this particular within mental health. I guess it really depends on the campaign and the keywords, but we have pretty high visibility into the search terms that people are typing in into Google. So watch those carefully. Again, like we always say, Google Ads is like gardening. You want to be fertilizing what should be there and weeding out what shouldn't be in there. And because this is we're using broad match, even though we're holding it in check with maximized conversions and target CPA, you're still going to get a lot of waste and a lot of crazy searches. So watch those things. We actually watch them every single day. When we launch a brand new campaign of this type, we're in there pretty much every day looking at those incoming search terms and adding the ones that are completely off target as negatives to remove that waste as quickly as possible and train the Google algorithm as to what success truly looks like. Okay. I hope that was helpful. That's a bonus video, and again, this is stuff that people ask me about all the time. So I just wanted to add that. And again, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you found value. Make sure you subscribe because we're going to do way more videos in this, and please like this as well. It just helps us, get found in the algorithm of YouTube. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and happy advertising. Talk soon.